The ABA wants to thank everybody for coming and everyone who submitted questions to the ABA for tonight. But because of the time allotted here tonight, we will not be able to ask all the questions that were submitted. However, the questions that are being asked tonight represent what the majority of the questions submitted were asking. If at the end of these questions, time permitting, questions submitted this evening will be asked subject to the ABA committee reviews and as they hand them to me. The ABA would like to thank the RCPOA for allowing us to use their facility this evening. Thank you, Sheriff. The ABA would also like to thank all of the candidates for not only participating in this event, but for also stepping forward and seeking a public office. Is there any other candidates out here in the audience tonight that we're not going to have up here in the debates? George Fry?
Over here.
I'm running for the Mark Twain Healthcare District Board. I've been in the county 37 years. I've been elected to 2 other school boards in the county, and I'm asking for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Over here.
I'm Ann Radford, and I'm also running for the Mark Twain Health District Board, and I am a nurse practitioner. I've been on lots of committees and commissions, specifically a commission that we handed out block grant money. I am fiscally responsible, and I have the knowledge as a nurse practitioner. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Tonight's format will be as follows. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes to give an opening statement. Each response to a question will be given 2 minutes maximum. After both candidates have answered the question, each will be given 1 minute to either respond or add to their original answer. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes for their closing statements. We will start with Department 1, judicial candidates, followed by Department 2, judicial candidates. And each of these debates will be approximately 30 minutes. Finally, we will have the supervisors for District 5. This debate will be from 45 minutes to an hour, depending on time and how everybody in the audience, if we have any left. We hope to get out of here as close to 9 o'clock as possible. So, without further delay, can we bring out District 1, Mr. Grant Barrett, or Commissioner Grant Barrett, and Dana File. All right, did we draw numbers for them to start? We did not. You guys did not draw a number. Okay, scissor, rock. Can we get a couple of numbers written down and put in a hat? Let them choose, please. Coin toss? Coin toss for judicial debate? Why don't we go with the numbers?
Yeah, what does the number mean?
Number 1 or 2, whether you're going to go first or second. Now we need numbers to find out who's going to draw first.
1 and 5 is what I read.
What?
1 and 5.
1 and 5? Okay, you want to choose first? Whichever one you want.
What you got?
5.
That means I got a 1. All right.
We'll have Dana start first. She will start with her 3 minutes opening statement.
Are these on?
You have to turn it on.
Hello. Can you hear me?
No.
Hello? Oh, yeah. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the Valley Springs Business Association and the Rancho Calaveras Clubhouse for allowing us the opportunity to speak to you here tonight. My name is Dana File, and I am a Deputy District Attorney running for Calaveras Superior Court Judge, Department 1. I began my legal career 15 years ago in this county. I first began working for Ken Foley, who many of you know is a defense attorney here in town. I I did primarily civil for him. I did family law, real estate, and personal injury cases. I did that for a little over a year before I moved to the public defender's office. And at the public defender's office, I handled all misdemeanor crimes that occurred from arraignment through sentencing. And I handled the dependency cases, which are the cases where Child Protective Services removes children from their families. After I did that for a period of time, I was invited to join the district attorney's office, and I've been there for the past 13 years. And in my capacity as a deputy district attorney, I've pretty much prosecuted every crime that you can think of. I generally, probably over the last 7 to 8 years, I handle the top crimes that occur in our county, such as homicide, rape, child abuse, drug offenses, burglary, domestic violence. Those are the types of cases that I typically deal with. Department 1 handles the majority of the crime that occurs in our county and the dependency cases. Every week I get a calendar, and it tells me what cases are on and where I have to be. Every week I calculate the amount of criminal cases versus civil cases that appear before the 2 judges in our court. And consistently every week, between 60 and 65% of those cases that appear before a judge in court are criminal cases. It is a very big caseload in our county. As Tim Healy famously says, Calaveras County has a crime problem. So when Judge John Martin retires in December, there is going to be a void of criminal law expertise on the bench in Department 1, where the criminal cases are heard. I am a criminal law expert. I have an expertise in courtroom procedure, the rules of evidence, and complex sentencing laws. It takes years to master these skills. You don't just put on a robe and competently judge criminal cases when you don't have the experience to do that. Don't you hate it when you lose your place? The last 3 elected judges in our county have all come directly from the district attorney's office, and there's a reason for that. As a prosecutor, my job is to seek the truth. My job is to do what's right. My job is not to get a conviction rate. Is that some sort of a hand signal?
Is that 3 minutes?
5 seconds? Oh, that's not fair. You didn't tell me we were getting a hand signal. Okay, I quite foul. On November 4th, I would be honored to be elected as the first female Superior Court judge in the history of Calaveras County. Thank you.
Just for all the candidates to know, I didn't mention it because it wasn't on my notes, but Larry Parenti here, sitting in front with the red shirt, is our official timekeeper. He will give you, Larry, why don't we give him like 15,
30 second.
30 second and a 15 second.
Okay. Thanks.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out. I certainly appreciate the Rancho Calaveras Property Owners Association and the Valley Springs Area Business Association hosting this event. My name is Brent Barrett, and I'm running for the office of Calaveras County Superior Court Judge, Department 1. I'm the only candidate for this office with experience on the bench. I've been on the bench in Calaveras County since 2001. At last count, I presided over more than 25,000 court hearings and trials. I currently serve as your Superior Court Commissioner. I am endorsed for this office by both of the retiring judges Martin and Mawhinney. You will hear, I would assume, quite a bit of discussion about the workload of the court. I brought a sheet, it's over on my table, it says it's a fact sheet. It comes from our 2013 stats for the court, and it breaks down the workload of the court by case type. In a 2-judge county, your judges have to be able to do anything. Think about it this way. If you lived in a county that only had 2 doctors and you couldn't refer out, they'd have to handle everything. So you can't come before the people and say, I know one kind of case very specifically, you should elect me. The issue before the voters is the best 2 judges. The departments are not functional. When we come out and we say Department 1 does this, it doesn't do that. The presiding judge of the court assigns the workload according to what is filed. So It's important that I think that you make this decision based on experience and competency in a broad range of skills. On November 4th, I would request that you vote for me, Grant Barrett, for Superior Court Judge, Department 1. Thank you.
All right. I have the questions here in front of me. They were just handed to me by our committee chair, Mr. Don Urbanis. And the very first question is, and we'll start with Dana. Please describe your recent criminal or civil trial experience.
Can I clarify the question? Are we talking jury or court?
I'm going by what questions were asked for me, and I'll read it one more time. Please describe your recent criminal and/or civil trial experience.
Okay, so my most recent jury trial experience, I had 2 life trials in June and July of this year, which is actually kind of rare to do them back to back like that. And it wasn't a fun experience, let me tell you. The first one was the rape of a 6-year-old child by her biological father. We were successful in prosecuting that case, and the individual was sentenced to 27 years to life. Those are complicated. My second trial was in July of 2014. It was a 3 strikes case, which I'm sure many of you are aware of what that is. It was a domestic violence, an extortion, a stalking. There were a variety of crimes. I was successful in prosecuting that individual. And midway through the trial, that individual decided to go pro per and represent himself. And you can ask Judge Mawhinney and Judge Martin. Those are by far the most difficult cases to prosecute because you're dealing with someone who has not a single clue of what they're doing. So it makes your job twice as hard. Because not only do you have to protect your case, but you got to protect the record from what that other individual is doing. I was successful in that, and he was sentenced to 44 years and 8 months to life. I have been successful in a jury trial of a first-degree homicide with special circumstances. That individual was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. I can't count how many domestic violence cases I've done. I know one, the individual nearly beat his girlfriend to death. He was sentenced to 10 years. Those are all jury trials. I don't really count court trials. Honestly, court trials are somewhat easy. The judge knows the law, so you're just presenting facts. But when you're doing it to a jury trial, those are far more complicated. I've prosecuted somewhere in the neighborhood of about 34 to 37 trials, most of which are felonies.
And Commissioner Barrett.
Can I ask a question?
Please describe your recent criminal and/or civil trial experiences.
All right, so this is the Code of Judicial Ethics, and this is what this says. A judge shall not make any public comment about a pending or impending proceeding in any court and shall not make any non-public comment that might substantially interfere with a fair trial or hearing. So I presided over a trial this morning, and I can't talk about it. If a case isn't finished, I can't talk about it. If it hasn't gone through the appellate period, I can't talk about it. The Code of Judicial Ethics prohibits me. If a case is on appeal, it can't be talked about. So the issue is, my most recent, what I can tell you is, in 2013, there were 3 judicial officers in Calaveras County. There was Judge Martin, Judge Mawhinney, and Grant Barrett. And we had a grand total of 7 criminal jury trials, and we had over 300 civil and family law trials, and that's what we did. I can't talk about specific cases. I can't talk about people's problems. I can't tell you the difficulties of being a judge in a small community when you have everyone's worst day occurring right in front of you. So I respectfully decline.
Okay, Dana, 1 minute if you'd like to add to what you had to say, or you can.
Sure. So honestly, I think that's a cop-out answer. The reason is, everything I just told you is public record. everything the commissioner does is public record. He may not be able to talk about something that's currently pending before him, but he can talk about anything that has been decided and is officially over. The commissioner has never once spoken about any of his jury trial experience as an attorney in his 5 years before becoming a research attorney for the court. All he does is describe his 25,000 cases, but he doesn't tell you anything about the quality of those cases. He doesn't tell you what types of cases he's deciding. So you need to pay close attention to the true experience and what is actually being conveyed to you.
Commissioner Barrett.
My opponent is correct. My decisions are all a matter of public record. You're free to go to the courthouse and investigate them yourselves, but I continue to decline to discuss matters over which I have decided when I was in private practice. I did criminal jury trials, I did civil trials, I did family. That's what I did. I did it well enough to impress the judges to hire me as their research attorney and advisor for the last 14 years.
All right, next question. Why are you seeking the position of Superior Court Judge? And Grant, we'll start with you. Commissioner Grant, I'm sorry.
I am seeking the position of Superior Court Judge because the two judges that I've worked for the last 14 years are retiring and leaving Calaveras County's Superior Court bench. And what your bench needs are experienced judicial officers to take over in that void. You're losing the entire bench in this county. It's a very rare occurrence. Having two elected judges at the same time is an anomaly in our system. It usually does not occur this way. And what you should be looking for is judicial experience. You should be looking for judicial temperament and the ability to handle a large amount of cases. Additionally, the judge is the boss of the organization. The judge is the ultimate employer. So you also have to be prepared to set policy and procedures, draft rules of court, oversee human resources, oversee the budget. It's not just go into court and sit down and decide a case. It's a huge organization. There's a lot to this job. That's what I've been doing for the last 14 years, and I request your vote.
Okay. So I've been preparing pretty much the better part of my adult life to become a judge. I decided in the 4th grade that I wanted to be an attorney. How or why, I couldn't tell you, but it stuck. And everything I did after the 4th grade was toward the path of becoming an attorney. I did. I've had an incredibly phenomenal, successful career. I've been very fortunate to work in this small community. I've protected this small community to the best of my ability, and I want to continue to do that. He's right. When Judge Martin leaves the bench, there is going to be a complete void of experience on the bench. And that complete void is in the area of criminal law. Now, Judge Swift is trying to pick up the slack in that area, and he's doing a criminal calendar that he started recently, and he's trying to learn the job. You don't need on-the-job training with me. I can step in and take over Judge John Martin's court seamlessly. I have been in that courtroom of Judge Mawhinney and Judge Martin for the last 15 years. I can tell you with near certainty how each one of them are going to rule on a criminal issue correctly. I have the experience, I have the temperament, and I have the skills to be a great Superior Court judge.
My opponent is a very good prosecutor, and I commend her for that. It would be terrible to lose her from the office of district attorney at this point. What I would indicate to you, though, is that, again, there were 7 criminal trials last year, and there were over 300 civil trials. So if we're just going to talk about the judicial work, and not the administration and the policy and the other operations of the court, then I think that my experience speaks for that. Thank you.
Let's get one thing perfectly clear. The judge is responsible for the work that is conducted in the courtroom. The court has a CAO. That was previously Judge Swift. They have a CAO now. The CAO runs the behind the scenes of the courthouse. Is that experience good to have? Yes. Is it absolutely necessary? No. 7 jury trials. 7 jury trials for our courthouse. You can ask Judge Mawini and Judge Martin. That's pretty good in a year. The 300 civil trials they had, not a one of those was a jury trial. Not one. They were all before a judge. And a trial can last 5 minutes. It can last 5 days. It can last anywhere in between. My last 2 jury trials were 5 days each. Thank you.
All right. Third and final question that I have. Judges are nonpartisan positions. Do you support political party or committee endorsements, and why? And we'll start with Dana.
Yes, I do. I'm sure everybody in this room received my mailer. Everybody in this room knows the Republican Central Committee of Calaveras County endorses me, as do Senator Tom McClintock, Assemblyman Berryhill, Kristen Olson, Tom Bigelow. What I think about that is I want you to know absolutely everything you can know about me to make an informed decision. I'm a registered Republican. Is that going to have any bearing on my job and how I decide cases? Absolutely not. But does it tell you something a little bit about me and my background and maybe what I might identify with? Absolutely. It's not a big secret. It's not a big secret that Commissioner Barrett was at the Republican Party committee when they decided who they were going to be endorsing.
Commissioner Barrett.
The California Constitution declares that the office of Superior Court Judge is a nonpartisan position. And until a recent case about 3 years ago, it was improper to accept a partisan endorsement. Now, there were some recent cases that came out and said that freedom of speech trumps that. However, nothing changes the wording of the California Constitution that declares this office nonpartisan. I abide by that rule of law. I don't go to the edges. I don't stand in the gray area. I abide by the law. I will tell you something about myself. I am a gardener and I love dogs. So now you know something about me. Those two I don't think will impact my decisions either on the bench. But I don't believe that this is the appropriate branch for partisan participation. I believe that a judge's role is to stay free of partisan politics, that I hope that that's what you want from a judge, and that's how I intend to preside.
And I absolutely agree with my opponent. Partisan politics have no role in the courtroom. Quite frankly, I am not a fan of politics. This has not been a pleasant experience. It has opened me up to the fact that politics are rather quite ugly. And I don't like that. But the fact that I am a Republican and have Republican endorsements has nothing to do with my decision-making ability in the court. It doesn't affect how I prosecute cases. It wouldn't affect how I decide cases in the future.
I didn't address the other issue. I did go to the Republican Central Committee. I attended the meeting. I was there available to be interviewed. If any of you were there, you will recall that Art Moore was there. Art Moore also spoke, and what he asked the Central Committee to do was refrain from endorsing anyone in the race. That was my purpose for being there. I went there so they could meet me, and I was going to ask them to refrain from endorsing because I heard a rumor they were going to endorse. They chose not to speak to me, they chose not to interview me, and obviously they didn't endorse me. I wouldn't have accepted the endorsement. That's all.
All right, I want to thank both of you for your participation tonight, and good luck to both of you. We're going to take about a 5-minute break before we go on to the next one.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. My apologies. You're right. We have 3 minutes, and and we're going to start with closing statements. We're going to start with Grant this time. My apologies.
Oh, don't worry about it. I appreciate you coming out. I think this is a very important vote. I hope that you consider these issues very seriously, and I hope that on November 4th, when the decision is made, you choose to vote for Grant Barrett for Superior Court Judge, Department 1. Thank you.
So, the ultimate question for you as a voter is, what type of experience do you want your new judge to have? Department 1 decides the criminal cases in our county. That's what it does. Can it change? Absolutely. But it doesn't change the fact that 60 to 65% of all cases are criminal. So, do you want someone like me who has the experience of living and breathing the criminal law every day? Or do you want someone like with my opponent's experience who awards child support and keeps case management on track for civil cases? Jury trials are where an attorney learns the rules of evidence and courtroom procedure. Do you want someone like me who has done 30 some odd jury trials, or someone like my opponent who to date has absolutely said nothing about his jury trial experience other than he has some? It's very important that you pick a judge who has the proper experience to the caseload that they're going to be deciding. And I want to bring up another issue. My opponent has indicated, he's questioned my dedication to this county with this mailer that he mailed out, saying that I don't live in Calaveras County, I live in Tuolumne. Yes, it's true. I live in Tuolumne County, 10 minutes past the county line. My opponent can't attack me on my qualifications. So he's going to attack me on the fact that I'm a working mom. My kids, I'll sacrifice anything for my kids to put them first. My kids go to high school in Sonora, and I am not going to rip them away from their schools and their friends and their activities because I can simply drive 10 minutes and be in this county. My dedication is proven to this county in the past 13 years of being here every day protecting the residents that live here. That's what I've done for this county. Don't be swayed by cheap shots like this. That's all I ask. Look at the experience of your candidates. Because if you vet us, I have no doubt that you will find that I have the right experience at the right time and that I'm the right vote for Superior Court Judge in Department 1. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take about a 5-minute break, okay? 5 minutes, stretch your legs, use the restroom. We're going to set up the...
My numbers runner has lost the numbers.
All right, we'll get started with Department 2. We have the same format, same ground rules, and actually we have the same questions as Department 1 that are before me here. So it's going to be 3 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes for your answers to the questions, 1 minute to respond, and then 3 closing statements. And Tim, you got number 1, so you can start your 3-minute statement.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Healy. I'm running for Superior Court Judge in Department 2. And I'd like to thank the Valley Springs ABA and also the RCPOA for hosting this event. And also for all of you for coming. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about why I'm running for Superior Court Judge, but also why I believe I'm the most qualified candidate for Department 2. Now, over the course of this campaign, one question I've had more than any other is, why should you vote for me? I believe the simple answer to that question is courtroom experience practicing the law. I'm the only candidate for Department 2 who has practiced law in the courtroom within the last 15 years. I'm the only candidate for Department 2 who has ever practiced criminal law in the courtroom. Now, practicing law in the courtroom is so very important because it's the core foundational building block for every judge. It's where attorneys learn to advocate for their clients. It's where we learn the rules of law. It's where we learn how to operate a courtroom by watching all the judges that we see and appear in front of. That's why you're hiring your next judge, is to run a courtroom, not run a courthouse. That's why you hire, as Dana said earlier, that's why you hire a court executive officer. He's an administrator, operations manager for the courthouse. The judge handles the courtroom. Any judge who, well, and there's some more things about that. It's in the courtroom where you learn the rules of evidence and how they apply to the cases that you have every day. Any judge who takes the bench without extensive courtroom experience practicing the law will have a difficult time with the rules of evidence and how they apply to the cases that they hear every day. I have extensive courtroom experience practicing the law that is simply unmatched by my opponent. I've been a criminal prosecutor for about 14 years down in San Joaquin County. I've handled virtually every case imaginable, from homicide to gang-related cases, misdemeanors, DUIs, you name it, I've handled it. Elder abuse, identity theft, child assault, sexual assault. It's a number of different cases. Currently, I am the child abduction attorney for the San Joaquin County District Attorney's Office. What that means is that I practice civil law and family law, along with international law, every day. I appear in family law court regularly. All of this is important. Dana talked about why criminal law is so very important, so I'll leave it there. So with that, on November 4th, please, I need your help, I need your support, I need your vote. Please vote for me, Tim Healy, for your next Superior Court Judge in Department 2. Thank you.
Judge Swift.
Thank you, Gary. My name is Hugh Swift. I am currently a Superior Court judge. I'm assigned right now to Department 2. As a judge, I can't make, in a campaign, I can't make any promises. I can't tell you how I'm going to rule in a particular case. So what I'd like to do tonight is just give you some facts about me and about my background. And hopefully that will help you make an informed decision when you vote for Superior Court Judge, Department 2. As I mentioned, I'm currently a Superior Court Judge. I hear and decide cases every single day. Prior to becoming a judge here in Calaveras County, I was a Superior Court Commissioner for 5 years. And every week, I heard cases in a courtroom as a Superior Court Commissioner. The decisions I made in those cases had the same force and effect as the decisions I make today as a Superior Court Judge. As a Commissioner and a Superior Court Judge, I've presided over thousands of hearings. I've heard criminal jury trials, civil family law, probate court trials. The rules of evidence that apply in a criminal case also apply in family law cases, civil law cases, and probate matters, domestic violence, civil harassment. It's all the same evidence code. I have the endorsement of 25 Superior Court judges, including Judge John Martin and Judge Mullaney. I think that's really important. Judge Martin and Judge Mullaney know what it takes to be a judge in a two-judge court. They know that it's not just one particular case type that a judge has to have particular expertise in. Judges need to be able to hear all different case types. They both did it. And whoever you elect is going to have to be able to do it just as I'm doing it today. They are familiar with me, my temperament, my work ethic, and my character. So I think that means a lot to have their endorsement. I'm the only candidate for this position that went through an evaluation process before my appointment. That evaluation process looks at my entire career, it looks at my character, and it looks at my background. No governor, Republican or Democrat, can appoint a judge before they go through that process. Again, I would just ask that you listen to the facts, become informed, and make your decision based on that when you vote for Superior Court Judge, Department 2. Thank you.
All right, same 3 questions as we had for Department 1. And we're going to go with Hugh first. Excuse me, Judge Swift first. Please describe your recent criminal and/or civil trial experiences.
Sure. This last year, since January 2014, we've had 8 criminal jury trials. I presided over 3 of those. I think Ms. File mentioned that one of the most difficult cases you can handle as an attorney is when you have a pro per defendant. I can tell you that it is also very difficult to preside over a case when you have a pro per defendant and you want to make sure that their rights are protected and it is a fair process as you go through it. I've heard we've done about, depending on how you're counting, 75 to 80 civil trials this year in our court. Family law, probate, domestic violence, civil harassment. I've presided, I haven't counted them, but I presided over probably the majority of those cases. I know I've heard, I think, 7 family law trials that resulted in a final judgment on the issue of either custody or property or both. When I was a commissioner, I also heard trials and evidentiary hearings. Those cases involved issues such as paternity, determination of income, for purposes of calculating child support. The rules of evidence, again, apply in all those matters, whether they're trials or evidentiary hearings, and the types of evidence is the same. So, received expert witness testimony, introduction of financial, medical, and business records. So I feel that I have strong trial skills based on my recent experience. Thank you.
Mr. Heath.
Thank you. So over the course of my 14 years...
Are you on? You turn it on?
Stop time.
So over the course of my 14-year career, I've been a criminal prosecutor, and that's what we do. We go to court every day, pretty much, and we also do jury trials. We do any number of different evidentiary hearings. So over the course of my career, I've handled DUIs, I've handled attempted murder, I've done trials with assault with a deadly weapon, I have handled, as I said, attempted murder, robbery, multiple defendant robbery, also sales for drugs, possession of sales for drugs, or possession of drugs for sale. And so I've had a number of jury trials. I've picked probably over the course of about, out of my 14-year career in a place like San Joaquin County, the office is rather large. And so you have different units. In some units you have a position where you can do jury trials, and in other units you have a position where you cannot do jury trials. For more than half my career, I have not been in a position to do jury trials. So in about 6 years, I've done about 20 jury trials, but over the course of my career, I have done hundreds of evidentiary hearings, what we call preliminary hearings, which is a mini trial, without a jury. Essentially, you're putting on evidence to ensure that the judge can rule whether or not there has been enough evidence presented that a crime was committed and that the defendant actually committed that crime. And so there are any number of cases that I've handled. As a criminal prosecutor, I've been the only attorney assigned in over 1,000 cases, and I've helped prosecute over 30,000 cases over my career. So I think when it comes to the experience as a criminal prosecutor, I've got it. Then we take a look at the family law cases that I'm handling. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm handling family law in court. So from the standpoint of broad experience, I believe that that's my experience that I would bring to the bench, and that's why I'm running.
That's good. We have 1 minute.
I don't know if I have a lot to add to my original answer, which may come as a relief to a lot of you. But one thing I do want to point out, in these civil cases that we hear, the family law cases, the domestic violence cases, the civil harassment cases that are heard weekly in our court, as a judge, you not only make sure that the laws and the procedures are applied correctly, you are the trier of fact. So you have to determine, for example, in a family law case, which parent is going to have custody of the child. So I think that experience has added a dimension to my background that it serves me well as I go forward. And again, that applied as my experience as a commissioner. Again, I heard all those cases as both the trier of fact and trier of law. Thank you.
So over the course of my career, I've had an opportunity to interview
Hundreds of witnesses, have them on the stand. I think one of the things that's very interesting about the role of a prosecutor is that we are not there to get convictions. We're there to seek justice and simply, and quite frankly, find the truth and do the right thing. I'm the only candidate for Department 2 who has spent years interviewing those crime victims, dealing with parolees, dealing with probationers, reading crime reports. One of the aspects of my job for about 2 years is I was a charging deputy. And during that time period, I would read the crime reports as they would come in. And what I'm getting at is it's this notion of a truth detector. I believe that's what my opponent was talking about. I have spent and dealt with over 30,000 cases as part of my experience. I've had all of those different factual patterns. I bring that experience to the bench. Thank you.
All right, next question. We're going to start with Tim. Why are you seeking the position of Superior Court Judge?
About 2 years ago, Judge Mawini announced his retirement. Actually, about 2.5 years ago, I'm sorry. It was in January of 2012. At that time, I did not seek the appointment from Governor Brown. First, it's a political appointment. And secondly, my wife was in a position, my family was in a position where I could not seek the appointment. My wife was very ill and not expected to survive. And so I did not seek the Jenny Commission, or did not seek the appointment from Governor Jerry Brown. I originally became interested in being a judge when I was a small child. We had several family friends who were judges, and I began to understand the respect that my father had for these men. And as I grew older, I also started understanding the history behind the three-part system, the three-tier system that we have as a government. And as an attorney, I really began to fully understand what that role was and how important it was within our society. As a criminal prosecutor, I spent 14 years seeking justice, seeking the truth every day. As a judge, the role is a little bit different because you're not advocating. You're there to ensure justice. You're there to make sure that both sides have a fair opportunity to be heard. That's what I've been doing as a criminal prosecutor for the past 14 years. Not simply the thousands of cases that I've been handling myself or the 1,000 cases that I've handled myself, but all the 30,000. All of those cases, it's all about justice. And that's why I'm running for judge. I think the whole Jenny Commission, I will get a chance to talk about the Jenny Commission and how that process actually works in a little bit. Because I think it's very important that you guys actually know what the Jenny Commission does and what they don't do, because they don't appoint anybody. All they do is investigate. So with that, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Thank you.
And Judge Swift, same question. The question, again, why are you seeking the position of Superior Court Judge?
Well, I just want to make sure that clear that I am the Superior Court Judge. I'm seeking to retain my position as Superior Court Judge. Why? I think that based on my experience, my 13 years in private practice representing clients in a variety of different types of cases, a variety of different types of forms, my 5 years as a research attorney for the court, my 9 years as a court executive officer, my 5 years as a Superior Court Commissioner, and my time as a judge on the bench uniquely qualifies me for this position. I bring to a two-judge court a background in law, a background in judicial experience, and a background in administrative experience that I don't think many people have. And I'm very grateful that I was given this chance as an appointment to serve Calaveras County and use the experience and skills that I have to be your judge here. Thank you.
Jim, another minute?
Yes, thank you. One of the things I didn't really get a chance to get into, but I wanted to talk to you about was, after the appointment was made, why did I seek this job? Well, I explained to you that my wife was very ill, and so I did not feel that it was a good idea for me to run for that position or seek that appointment, because I felt that it was more important to keep my family together. But after about a year, after 2 years' time, it took about 2 years to appoint my opponent, my wife was doing much better, and her doctor said, she gave us a green light to go ahead and live again, and so we started doing more things. And when I saw that Governor Brown had appointed my opponent, I knew, based on my experience as a criminal prosecutor, and I'm contrasting it with his experience in the private practice and also what he'd been doing for the past few years, that I was more qualified than my opponent. And so I sought the appointment. Otherwise, quite honestly, if I didn't believe I was more qualified, I would never have run. Thank you.
Judge Swift, another minute?
I, again, just want to make sure to use this opportunity to let people know how important I think it is that a judge in this county has broad-based, diverse experience. You've heard some numbers thrown out there that 65% of what the court does is criminal. I can tell you with certainty that 1/3 of the judicial workload is criminal, and 2/3 of the judicial workload is civil, probate, family law, domestic violence, civil harassment, cases like that. So I just want to make sure people understand that and understand why having a broad-based, diverse experience is important to be a judge in this county. Thank you.
All right, we're going to start with Judge Swift on the next question. That question is, judges are nonpartisan positions. Do you support political party or committee endorsements, and why?
I think that this question raises a really important issue, and that is one of judicial independence. Judges in our system of government have to be independent and free from any partisan politics or other outside influences. I think it's critically important that people understand that. And I think that this judicial election process has been good. People have begun to understand what the role of the judiciary in our society is and in our community. Unlike other elected positions, judges don't have constituent groups. They don't have, it's not liberal versus conservative, Democrat versus Republican, environmentalist versus pro-developer, something like that. There's no constituent group for judges. The judges are required to serve the law. The rule of law is what judges are required to serve. And I think that that is important. I don't know if that answered the question, but I think that in terms of judges being involved in the political process, that's my perspective on it. Thank you.
Sure. The question is, judges are nonpartisan positions. Do you support political party or committee endorsements and why?
The answer is yes, I do. I sought and received the endorsement from the Republican Central Committee for Calaveras County. If the Democrat Central Committee would have been willing to offer their endorsements, I would have sought that too. I would have sought every single political party's endorsement. I want everybody's endorsement, not just any particular group, and that's because I want to include everybody. Because I agree, there's no place on the bench for Republican, Democrat, Green, anything, American, whatever the party is that you have. There's no place inside the courtroom for politics. It is about the law. But I also believe in the Constitution of the United States of America. And I believe, for one, that everybody has a right to support who they want. If you go to any number of states, state of New York, state of Indiana, everybody there gets to advertise their political party. Because anytime you ask for a vote, it is inherently political. The Jenny Commission is a nonpartisan group that investigates all judicial applicants. The governor, however, is a very political animal. Every appointment by Jerry Brown was political. Judge Mawhinney talked about that very thing in a January 25th, 2013 interview with Joel Metzger in the Calaveras Enterprise, talking about how Dana File and Steve Arola, who were both not part of the same party as Governor Brown, had very little chance to be appointed because Governor Brown only appoints, or mainly appoints, Democrats. It is a political process. But inside the courtroom, no place for it. Thank you.
Judge Swift, additional minute.
I'm very, very happy to stand up here and tell you that I've been endorsed by not only the judges, not only other judges throughout the state, but, I don't know, hundreds of members of this community. And I don't know what their political affiliation is, but I'm pretty sure that I've been endorsed by Republicans and Democrats and independents. So I think that in terms, again, of the political process and the political appointment process, all I know is that it was thorough, it was exhaustive, others went through it, I received an appointment. I've never been to Jerry Brown's house for dinner. He doesn't invite me over. I don't know him. I don't know anybody that knows him. So I was very pleased and honored to get the appointment that I did. Thank you.
Additional minute.
Well, to kind of continue on, I think I can't think of anything more political than appointment from Jerry Brown. I don't know how to say it any other way. I did want to expound a little bit on the ideas that truly, inside the courtroom, there's one law. It's not Democrat, Republican, it's not conservative, liberal, it's one law. And that's how the judge who's sitting on the bench has to see it and has to rule on it. I have over 14 years of experience in what has been described to me, and I agree with this, as a prosecutor. It's a quasi-judicial position because I'm not there seeking to get a conviction. I'm there to seek justice. I'm there to help the process of finding the truth. I believe that that has put me in a position to be ready to be your next judge in Department 2. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to the closing statements, 3 minutes each. And since we started opening with Tim, we're going to have Hugh start with Judge Swift.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. I think it's important that you all are informed so you can make your best decision of who you should select as a judge for Department 2. I do want to clear up a few things. There's been some references to practicing law over certain periods of time. I want to make sure that everyone understands. I spent 13 years going to work every day for civil litigation firms, and my own firm for a while, practicing law. I practiced law in the courtroom, before judges, before juries, before arbitrators, and that was my job for 13 years. When I moved up here in 1999 to Angels Camp, I worked as a research attorney. I want to make sure everyone understands what a research attorney does. A research attorney looks at the cases that are coming up on calendar for the judges, analyzes them, and prepares recommended rulings on cases that are the same types of cases that I hear on a daily basis today. When I was a commissioner, I guess I wasn't practicing law because I was hearing cases as a judicial officer, deciding them, listening to the facts, applying the law, and deciding those cases. I was a CEO, and just for the record, the CEO does not run the court. Under the government code and the rules of the court, responsibility for judicial administration falls with the presiding judge. So there shouldn't be any question about that. It's very clear. But that position takes a knowledge of the law. It takes a knowledge of the principles of due process. And as a CEO, one of your responsibilities is to make sure that you provide services to the public. Access to justice. So I just wanted to clear that up in terms of whether or not I've practiced law over the last 15 years. And for the last year, since January, I've been hearing cases every day as a judge. And I suppose maybe that's not practicing law, but then Judge Martin hasn't practiced law for the last 15 years either, and that's the standard. We've had some discussion about the criminal versus civil. I think it's dangerous to try to place relative value on a type of case. Because, yes, criminal cases are very important. But I think if you talk to any parent who's involved in a child custody or visitation dispute, you would have a hard time convincing them that their case wasn't important. And that's the approach I try to take whenever I hear a case, is that each case is important to the parties before me.
Mr. Greeley, 3 minutes.
Thank you. So we've talked a little bit about criminal law and about how 65% of the cases that are heard in Calaveras County courts are criminal. that is the truth. That's exactly what the court's own calendar talks about. My opponent says that 1/3 of the judicial workload is criminal. That's a subjective number. I'm not talking about subjective numbers. I'm talking about objective numbers that are provable, as opposed to talking about other things. I've never compared what a judge does in his chambers with what he does in court. I'm comparing what goes on in court with what goes on in court. And it's a majority of the cases that are heard in Calaveras County, and that does not include infractions, is criminal. So, the Jenny Commission, it's a really interesting process. I'll try to get through that really quick. The governor makes the appointment, not the Jenny Commission. The governor sends the application that people fill out to the Jenny Commission. The 14th question on the application for judge is, what political party affiliation do you have? There are 4 ratings: unqualified, qualified, then there's a couple more. Nobody gets to know what their rating is past qualified. Nobody. Unless, of course, you're found unqualified. And the governor does not have to take the person and appoint the person who receives the highest rating. In fact, a person who is given an unqualified rating may be appointed by the governor. The point behind that isn't, I'm not trying to infer anything or imply anything, rather. It's just a statement of fact. So much for the nonpartisan nature of the Jenny Commission when the governor is the one who's making the appointment and it's political. Choose for yourself. Find out as much as you can about each of the candidates for both races. I think Dana has said this and the others have said this. Investigate it yourself, because that's really important for you to do that for yourself and find out for yourself who you think is the most qualified, based on the qualities that you think are important. So with that, I'll leave the rest, but say this. Thank you so much for your time. I think this is such a wonderful process that everybody's here and taking their time to come and find out and listen and talk to people and hear what we have to say. But also take the time to go ahead and read into it. Check out our websites. Check out as much information as you can. It's really important. So on November 4th, please, I need your help. I need your support. I need your vote. So please vote for me, Tim Healy, your next Superior Court Judge in Department 2. Thank you.
I want to thank both of you for joining tonight and on the ABA's behalf. Thank you. We're going to take about another 5-10 minute break, and then we're going to go into District 5 supervisors. Both candidates have chosen a number, and Steve, you've got number 1. So we're going to give you the opportunity to go first with your opening statement. You have 3 minutes. Okay? Our timer right here, keep an eye on him. He'll give you a 30-second and a 15-second card, so you know how long you have. Okay? You're up.
Well, I think I finally got used to following 4 lawyers when I do that. I was a little worried that the sheriff was sitting over here, but he left, so that took a little heat off my shoulders. I want to thank the hosts, just as everybody already has, the VSABA and the Rancho Calaveras Property Owners Association. It's a very big deal, and the fact that you're all here proves that, and I thank them for their efforts. My name is Steve Kearney. I've been a resident of Calaveras County for over 20 years. I have an associate arts degree from Delta College and a bachelor's degree from UC Davis. I am 57 years old with 3 kids. I worked for Long's Drug Store for 30 years, the last 13 of which were in this county. I also have served on the Calaveras Fish and Game Commission and the Calaveras Planning Commission, and been in leadership roles of a multitude of different nonprofit agencies locally, or nonprofit groups locally. You're here tonight because you care. You care about the future of our county and about where we're going, about the state that it's presently in, and you care about who represents you. I have been asked many times why I'm running. I'm running because I care. I care that we've been working on a general plan for almost a decade after thousands of dollars, and we still don't have one. I care about that. I care that our rates of commerce are so far below our neighboring foothill counties that it's really hard to believe. I care about that. I care that our unemployment consistently runs higher in this county than it does in our neighboring foothill counties. I care that our county finances are continuously being met with one-time funds out of the teeter fund to balance the budget. I care about that. I have 30 years of directing large business, writing multi-million-dollar business plans, and making them successful. I have the skills necessary to be a Calaveras County Supervisor for the next 4 years. I have been dedicated to this community in many ways, and I've lived here for over 2 decades, and I've done that because I've enjoyed it. It's because I care about the community. I've worked in leadership roles in several organizations, and I will continue to be engaged with the community as a county supervisor. I will work to facilitate to get a general plan passed, one that is legally defensible and satisfies all the 7 elements of the requirements of the state of California. I will work to bring back commerce to this county. I will ask that we do everything possible to welcome the business to come back here. I care about Calaveras County. I care where we're at right now, and I'm looking forward to a lively debate tonight. Thank you.
Steve, there is a microphone right there if you can choose to use it.
Did I need it?
All right, Marty, 3 minutes.
Brevity is not my strong suit. And it was probably better for the recording to use the mics. Thank you so much for coming. This is very exciting. I was quite afraid that we wouldn't be able to get a debate together. So thank you to the ABA for stepping up and making this happen. And then also for Joyce and Colleen for filming it. Because we've had 5 debates previously, and the 5th one was not recorded or reported on. And it was very, very telling. So I'm excited that we're all here, that we're filming it, so that those that are not able to come will also be able to see it. So thank you to the Rancho Clubhouse as well, and for everyone for staying. My name is Marty Crane, and I'm running for District 5 Supervisor. I will say that I was in the corporate arena in Orange County in LA, and for years with Ma Bell, and then started an independent escrow company and built it from 2 to 13 employees along with a friend, and retired from there after 20 years. When we moved here, we hit the ground running. This is a beautiful place. We don't ever want to move again. So I'm running because I don't ever want to move again, and we need to fix what's wrong and build on what is right. Expand on the good things, and everything is on the table. Everything. So we peel back the onions and we fix what's wrong. I have been to every single 5-day preliminary budget hearing. We did not have to be 8 million in the hole. We can go into that another day. But just suffice to say, I know how the county government budget works because I have watched how all the different configurations of our board of supervisors have handled the budget. And so I understand the budget and the process. I've also attended I think I missed 2 years ago, just about every Board of Supervisor meeting since 2002. And I served on the Bench Auditors Council, the Women's Crisis Center. I worked with others to start youth centers in our communities, and I'm still very much involved with the Valley Springs Youth Center. And I started the Future Master Gardener program. So when I took over with the day-to-day operations of the Volunteer Center, I went out looking for resources for all our fragile populations, and that led to dozens and dozens of meetings and workshops and training opportunities that I attend every month since 2002. I can tell you that it's not only critical that our supervisor, our representatives, be informed on as many subjects as possible. It is critical that what they do in order for them to represent us. And more on that later.
All right, we're going to continue with our format where you have 2 minutes to answer each question, and then you'll have another minute after everybody's answered the question to come back with another response or something you left out, whatever you want to do. And you don't have to take a minute. It's totally up to you. So we're going to start off with the first question. The first question was touched on a little bit by both of you, I think, during your opening statements, but it's please describe your business development experience and budget creation experience. And we're going to start with Marty first.
Thank you. Like I said before, when I was in Orange County, America, and we built this escrow company, we dealt with, I handled over 80 open escrows a month. Each one of those represents someone's life savings. And altogether, we're talking millions and millions of dollars. And you don't take that lightly. Also, when we came here, when we retired and moved here, we hit the ground running, like I said. And when I took over the volunteer center, we ended up reaching out to all the other nonprofits. And we were seeing that everyone was struggling financially. So we found ways to make things happen, to do what had to be done out in the community with little or no money. Because as people think that volunteers, they're volunteers. They don't need money. So here comes the little crash, if you will, in 2008. And everyone was really stressing over this. And I believe that we need to get creative about how we make things happen. We need to reach out and pull in all the resources that are out in our community. We have amazing expertise out there. And I want to say that if your focus is fire, that's your focus. If you're on a school board, which, by the way, I serve on the County Office of Education Trustee Board, your focus is on education. If you're on the water board, it's water. If you are the supervisor, you have this giant umbrella, and everything falls underneath that. And you may not and will not be voting on everything, but everything that you do will impact every one of those issues and every one of the people in our communities. Thank you.
Steve, 2 minutes.
Would you reread again?
I certainly will. It says, please describe your business development experience and budget creation experience.
I asked them to reread it, not because I forgot it. I didn't forget it. I want to make sure that we stay on answering the question, and that's what I'm about. My budget and business development experience is basically what I did for 30 years. When I started working for a large corporation, we weren't trained to do what we're told to do. We were basically given a checkbook, and you make that checkbook grow, and that was my job. We were entrepreneurs. We were sent to our communities. We developed our own business plans. We wrote our multi-million-dollar business plans 4 times a year, and we updated them once annually. We were responsible for the profits and loss. I was sent to many troubled stores to get them going, including Valley Springs, which was a troubled store when I was sent to it. And we worked hard, we made them happen, we developed our own marketing plans. Nobody told me what to do here. When I thought I was going to have a downtime, I'd figure out, what are we going to do to make it happen? All of a sudden, I contact my suppliers, we'd bring in different things, have a sidewalk sale, and my business would double. That's a lot of fun when you plan your business the next year and you're trying to overcome it, but we still worked hard on that. Okay, that is my business and budgetary experience. Was I good at it? I think so. The last year I worked in this store and I wrote the budget for 4 quarters and the annual budget on an $11 million cash flow. I gave my company $1.040 million in the bank. And I feel pretty good about that. Was it easy? No, I worked very, very hard to do it. Thank you.
Marty, a minute?
So, budgets. Everywhere I have gone, I've dealt with budgets. Big, small, everything in between. And it depends on what the product is and who you're serving and who you're representing. Retail budget has nothing in common with our government budget, except that we're dealing with money. In a retail scenario, your goal is to make as much money as you can for your stakeholders. In a nonprofit or in a government, you're not there to make big bucks. You're there to manage the people's money effectively for the best outcome for the people. I'm not sure if I answered it, but thank you.
Actually, my budget in retail looks exactly what the county deals with all the time. So it's quite a bit of like, hey, let's take it one step further. I've been involved with a lot of nonprofits locally, including the Valley Springs Boosters. And if you ever watch the fireworks over New Hogan, that basically was not well funded when I got involved with it. It exists today. They've got to collect about 20 to 30 grand, depending on the year, to put that event up every year. It was a tough budget to fix. It was a tough budget to make roll. It's a nonprofit budget. I know how to work those nonprofit budgets. I know how to keep two hands on every dollar that comes into it, and I'm very much aware of it. Is it like the $11 million budget that I wrote as a business person? Yeah, really, in a lot of ways it is. It's just a smaller venue.
All right, this time we're going to start with Steve going first. And the question is, what will you do for District 5, and what is your opinion on the CSA 1 monies?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to do for District 5. Now, obviously, I want to get people working again. Obviously, I want the economy to get better. And some of these neighborhood watch issues that are coming up, you bet I'm on board with it. I live within shooting distance, depending on how you want to term that, from some of the problems that they're being described. And you're doggone right I'm concerned about it. The CSA 1 committee, I've already met with them. The money that goes into that needs a county supervisor to be vigilant and make sure that it gets there, it's not abused. But there's a great committee in charge of it. They don't need me to go in and tell them what to do, and I've already told them that. I have no plans to change what the CSA 1 does. They're already doing a good job. County supervisor that gets elected to District 5 has already got a lot on their plate. And like my grandpa told me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The CSA 1 committee's not broken, I'm not going to fix it.
Marty's asked me to read it again. What will you do for District 5, and what is your opinion on the CSA 1 monies?
First of all, the CSA 1 money is something that Rancho Calaveras has chosen over the years to tax ourselves on. And so that money is there because we decided years ago that we wanted better roads than what the county was able to provide. So the CSA 1 committee has in the past had issues, but has been leveled out and things are going along well. It's being well handled. They work well with Public Works and the county. Wasn't always the case. I've been involved with that for years. Just like I was involved, by the way, with the fireworks, and I was there when we prepared the 501c3 to make sure that that would go forward. What I would do for District 5 is, well, first of all, there are so many areas in District 5 and across the county that do not have broadband. Now, if you have broadband, high-speed internet, then you don't really know what it's like to try to run a business or do your homework or maybe do online college classes from your home. And instead, our children end up going on these windy roads out of county to another county to go to college. Once they get there, they quickly realize that commute is not going to work very long. And they end up becoming part of that economy, which is not good for us. So also, I've probably been to many of your homes and talked to you on your driveway and over the fence while someone was vaccinating their cattle. You know, I learned a lot. I felt like Aaron Brockovich. But what I want to say is that I've also heard that our parents and our grandparents are starting to make plans to leave because they don't want to be so separated from their children and their grandchildren. We must do something about broadband, and we're working on that. There are a lot of good people working on that already. More on that later.
Steve.
The CSA One Road Committee, I have the pleasure to sit in on a meeting. Really went there just to learn from them, to be very quiet. They were very involving, very engaging. They wanted to hear from me. We had a nice talk. You want to know something? If you want to know how much money's in that fund, ask one of them. They'll tell you. They got their finger on it. If you got a bump in the road, give them a call. They'll get it taken care of. The county supervisor's job should be to assist the good work that they're already doing. And I don't have any other inclination to do that. I have been a member of the Valley Springs Boosters. I worked on creating it with a man named Garland Johnson. I can explain that too if I need to. And I've been on it every year. And I don't mean any offense. You have to pay $20 to belong to it. And Marty, you're going to belong to it.
I worked on the fireworks for many years under the radar and was there in the room when we did the 501c3. Back then, as I recall, there weren't any dues or anything. Like everything else, I show up and I pay attention. And that's how you learn. And at some point, I realized that there were plenty of people handling the fireworks, and there were so many other things happening out in the community that needed attention that I weren't there. So I haven't needed to go there, and I love the fireworks, and I always encourage everyone, if you're on your back patio or on the hillside watching the fireworks, write a check for $10 and send it in. And I still think that's a good thing.
All right, we're going to go on to the next question, and this time we will start with Marty. And that question is, given the water situation, if elected, would you address this issue and how?
One of the dozens of meetings, or several of the dozens of meetings that I attend since 2003, every month, deal with water. And I can promise you that this group over here disagrees with this group over here, and this one over here has a little different view than this one over here. So I'm all for pulling everyone together, get in the same room, have the conversations, deal with the facts. Because as people out here, when we turn on that faucet, we want it to be there. A lot of our water, majority of our water, I believe, is just passing right through here and going down to other providers or other consumers. I think we need to address that. There's opportunities for us to have these dialogues and communications, and we have experts out there working on them. Remember the umbrella? You cannot be an expert on everything, but you need to know who the experts are and where the expertise is and how to pull them in. And everybody in the community has something to offer. And so we all need to show up, pay attention, learn what we can, and give our input, because that's the only way we're going to come together as a community and solve the issues. We have several watersheds, and we are in charge of those. We are the best stewards to be in charge of those. And our forest lands, they impact the water and the quality. And the Delta is a whole different issue. I think that most of this It's difficult because we're working or we have all these busy lives. It's hard for us to stay engaged and know exactly what's happening on every single subject, but the water is critical. We all know that when we run out of the water, it's a scary thing, scary. And when we see on the news from LA that they are sprinkling the lawns, at the same time they're telling us that they saved about a year's worth, that's a serious problem.
Mr. Gurney?
I think it's real important to remember what the county supervisor is being asked to do and what he's being hired to do, basically, by all of you when you vote. We have CCWD, we have other water agencies. They are the ones that we need to have take care of the water coming out of the faucet. There are certain things that a county supervisor will have to do with, like planning issues where water comes to them. We have a representation on a board called CAMRA, which is the Calaveras San Bernardino River Authority. We have to stay on top of those issues. We need a good relationship with boards like the CCWD because we have to work with them. We have to make sure that we can develop a fee structure so people can build new business here, and their fee is part of that. I can't tell CCWD how to deal with the water issues that they're facing. They're facing some pretty incredible ones. And if you heard recently at a VSABA election, one of their directors gave a talk on that. It is the County Board of Supervisors' job to keep a good relationship going with CCWD, which maybe hasn't been so great lately. And I'm looking forward to doing that. I believe as a supervisor, we need to stay vigilant. And as a person that lives here, I'm very concerned. My water use is way down this year. And I suspect most everybody else is here also. My job is to stay focused on what you're asking me to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my vote when the CCWD director comes up, because that's who provides the water in my faucet. And I'm going to make sure he does his job, and I'm going to do my jobs when water issues come up in planning.
Marty, 1 minute.
So my opponent is absolutely right in that our general plan and our land use issues are critical as we address our water issues. When we look at development and expanding here and expanding there, we have to make sure that we do it where we already have water, because we can't afford to extend any further. Unless we have something in place, we shouldn't be permitting big projects unless it's already in our plan, in our near future plan, because the developers will see to that. But we have to make sure that we go to the areas where we already have our town centers, because that's where we have the infrastructure. And we're not just talking water, we're talking roads and bike and ped paths and electricity, you name it. We have to stay in our community centers.
I want to make a statement and be really clear on it, because I think it is important for a supervisor to be successful. They keep their focus. A general plan has 7 legally required elements by the state of California. And I'm going to read them so that I don't make any mistakes. Land use, circulation, housing, conservation, noise, open space, and safety. Sometimes water elements are added. I sincerely doubt that they will be added immediately, and I still stick to what I said. You got to hold CCWD's feet to the fire and make sure that they keep on top of the water. And when planning issues come up, a county supervisor does get involved, but that's not required by the general plan. Thank you.
All right, we will start with Steve on the next one. And that question is, what ideas do you have to improve the economic possibilities in Calaveras County?
Boy, how much time do we have? I spent a lifetime in work, and that's what I did, was market things and try to bring more business, try to make it better. Without a doubt, the first thing that is on my mind is we've got to have a general plan passed. It's got to be legally defensible. We've got to have the 7 elements that I just brought up. And no, I'm not throwing the community plans out the window. I know they're important. And I do believe in the Rancho Calaveras plan. I am the person on the planning commission who actually used the 1999 Rancho plan. So it's second nature for me to update it. We have to have the general plan passed. We've got to tell business that our doors are open for them to come in. You know what? When the board recently approved that auto zone, that was great, because you know why? They told Caltrans to go pound sand. And that took backbone for them to do that. I've got that backbone, and I'll do that again. We need stuff to come here. Caltrans can't tell me that we don't have access and egress opportunities in Valley Springs. Go to Jackson. Drive between where the slope comes into the Highway 88 turnoff. They're everywhere. We can do that. You know, so I'm going to stand up for stuff like that. I'm going to work to also tell everybody that our doors are open for business. And when they come here, we want them to be here. Thank you.
Marty, would you like me to read the vote?
About economics. First of all, as a supervisor, when you're looking to elect someone for supervisor, I think it's critical that they know what the job is before they apply for the job, and apply themselves before they apply for the job. And that takes years. The job of the supervisor is to set policy, make sure that it is equally and equitably applied across the board. Manage the people's money through the budget, bring us back to fiscal solvency. We have a strategic plan, by the way, and we need to stay laser focused on it. And then hire the county staff, and that would be the CAO, which, by the way, we lost another one. We've had how many planning directors and how many CAOs in the same number of years? We have to figure out what is the common thread. Let's hang on to them, because every time the staff changes, we end up going sideways. It affects our budget. It affects our economy. It affects everything. That's why it's taking so long to do our general plan. We must get that done. We have to, when we look at the economics, we have to make sure that we keep the businesses that are here. Maybe that means we provide an incubator program for the new startup businesses. We have so many ideas and people that want to do business from their homes, but once again, we got to bring in broadband. And so I am part of the Economic Development Council, and we've been meeting for a long time, and we focused on doing a survey where we meet with all the businesses to determine what do you need, not to survive, but to thrive, and how can we fill that? And also we've identified broadband. We're doing
Steve?
You know, this is just a hair off topic, but I just can't resist. I am a business person by nature. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman running for political office. And I did go to the budget hearings this year. I haven't been to all of them. I don't know that I could tolerate going to all of them. I sat through one of the budget hearings, and this drove me insane. And if it doesn't drive every taxpayer in this audience insane, I'm surprised. I added up $4,000 worth of taxpayer labor sitting, waiting to testify till it was their turn. If I saw that for 10 years in a row, I'd be beside myself. You know, I can appreciate the fact that when you go to something over and over and over, there are little things that are different. But if I went to that after 1 year, I'd want to fix it the second year. And that's why I'm running now, because I've seen things like that, and I want to address it. Thank you.
So like I said before, you have to show up consistently, pay attention, or you end up 8 million in the hole, which is exactly where we are now, and we did not have to be there. We ended up using one-time money from the teeter funds and the carryover funds to use to pay ongoing expenses like salaries. So when that money is gone, what exactly happens to the teeter fund? Who relies on the teeter fund? Our fire departments rely on that because they get most of their money from our taxes. That's December 10th and April 10th, right around those times. There's a big part of the year there where they're dry and they need a little money to see them through. Historically, it was set up so that they could borrow from the teeter funds. But that's in danger of even being available to them. And we cannot risk losing our fire departments. The fire fee does not go to support them at all. So it's up to us to support our fire departments and protect the teeter funds.
All right, this time we'll start with Marty. And the question is, what are your views and/or stance on SB 1199 or 1199? This is the wild and scenic designation for the McCallum River.
The wild and scenic designation is a state designation. It is not a federal designation. Our supervisors voted unanimously to not go with the federal designation, but to go with the state designation. And then they brought it back for another community discussion, and they again approved it 4-1. There are many sides, views, and people digging in their heels and saying, I've got the facts. And other people saying, well, here it is, read it. So if there are amendments to be added to it, they need to be amendments that are not going to cut it off at the knees and say, well, we're not going to protect it at all. The CCWD has no plans whatsoever to build any, in my understanding, any additional impoundments or dams or on that stretch. Whatever you can do there now requires permits, and you will require the same permits later. But you won't be able, and there's another thing. It is clearly defined what natural flow means in the document. So if you read the definition of natural flow, then it makes sense. So I approve of the SB 1199. 1199. I approve of that, but we are going to have more conversations in the future, and I really hope that everyone will come to the table with sincere intent to find solutions to protect the Mokwalami, because it is a source of economic value to us and a sense of place, which is huge. People want to come here for a sense of place. Businesses are generally people that have families, and they are looking for a sense of place, and that is one of them.
Steve, need the question repeated?
No. I've read into the record of the supervisors meeting my stance on SB 1199. I was born 2 miles from the shore. I care about that. But I was not in favor of SB 1199 after I researched it thoroughly. Okay, and I put a lot of effort into understanding it. First off, why did we need it? We'd already shown that we were willing to join groups together of various agencies to stop East Bay Mud from raising RD and protect the historic Middlebar Road Bridge. We're adding to the Wild and Scenic Act. We didn't need to be doing that. Okay, and what did it truly protect? If you read SB 1199, it talked about the water in the pools of Pardee. It didn't stop them from raising Pardee, as I saw it, after it was enacted, had it been followed through on. And then here's what really bugs me, because I believe I'm an honorable man. And when we got our supervisors together, they completely ignored the fact that we have memorandums of understanding to stand together with Amador County when it comes to the McCollum River and attacks on our water system there. They did nothing to keep the people in the Bay Area from putting straws in the McCollum after it left the spillway at Pardee. We were supposed to stand with the county supervisors in Amador. We didn't. That was wrong. And that's why I didn't have any problem accepting the endorsement of 2 of those supervisors. That was the issue, that they supported me, and I'm thankful that they did. I would not have supported SB 1199 the way it was written. Thank you.
Marty, 1 minute response.
I was in the room when this conversation was happening. I'm always in the room when these conversations are happening. And I recall a lot of people from Amador coming over and making statements like, "You've been duped, you didn't read the information." And I will tell you that our supervisors did read it, and they made their own decisions. And then they stood up for them, and they agreed again, except for one. And I will also tell you that when halfway, I believe it was like halfway through the public comment, Mr. Kearney stepped up and read a prepared statement in opposition. As a supervisor, I want to know for sure that my representative is going to listen to all of the public comment before making a decision. Thank you.
Steve.
You bet my statement was prepared. I thought about it a long time before I read it. I wanted to make my words very clear to what I was trying to say. So she's absolutely right about that. I don't want to send our water to East Bay. It wasn't protected after it left here. We are very capable of controlling with local agencies the protection of the McCollum. And I don't need a bill that was a snow job on us all to send the water out of the county. You know what? We just had a question about water, and there's opportunities in the McCollum, and they're in danger of being lost if we don't grab them. And yes, that is exactly how I feel about that.
All right, I have 2 prepared questions left, and we are at 9 o'clock right now, so we're going to get through these 2. And we're going to start the next one with Steve going first. And that question is, do you think the county should fund the difference for a full-time Veterans Service officer?
Yeah, you know, my family's military history is easy to trace back to World War I going forward, including a son that's wearing a uniform right now. So you doggone right, I'm sympathetic to the cause. Should we fund the officer? Well, you know, when we can afford $60,000 for a trapper, we could probably not do that and fund something more important like our veterans. If they need our help and we can find a little bit of money to do that, sure, you betcha. I can do without some other things to honor our veterans. It's important to me. I care about it, and you're doggone right we should stick up for them. They stuck up for us, and I want to stick up for them.
Marty, 2 minutes.
When you find yourself looking at the budget, you can only give what you got. But you got to get creative, and some things rise to the top. Our veteran service officer is obviously one that we want to fund. I was crushed when we only got a part-time service officer. But I also see that we have veterans memorial districts all over the county. And they've been through the process. So when we find that we don't have sufficient funds for whatever reason, we have other ways of making things happen. Our veterans have been through the process, many of them, to find the benefits that they need. We have a part-time veteran service officer, in my opinion, could train others to help and take a lot of the load off, and they could do it right in the different in the various veterans offices. For instance, the Jenny Lind Veterans Memorial District. They have this big, wonderful space. A few desks, a couple of phones. They could help each other. And there's an organization in Sonora, Veterans Helping Veterans. It sounds wonderful to me, and I don't know why we can't pursue that. But absolutely, I think we should find a way to fund the Veteran Service Officer. I'd like to have 2 of them. We probably could use 3. So having a half-time or part-time service officer is a little bit in your face wrong. Anyway, I want to see what we can do to find that happen, find a way to make that happen. And like I said, I'm in all these meetings. I've watched the county struggle with all of these things. We want to give the sheriff everything he's got. We can only give him what we got.
Steve, 1-minute response.
You know what, a couple weeks ago I had skunks in my yard. They were living in the little culvert underneath the road. And somehow I managed to deal with those. I didn't call the trapper. I had 2 grandpas who were very involved in agriculture. They worked on large ranches. Neither one of them have ever had a hunting license in their entire life. But they knew how to take care of things, you know, and they did if they had to. But you know what? We could do without certain things, and the trapper's easiest for me to pick on. I would like to have a community officer. I would like to have a dedicated veterans officer that the county funds, that the people who gave so much and are doing it right now. We're sending people overseas right now, putting them in peril. It makes me sick. I want them to come back to Calaveras County and know that we support them.
1-minute response.
We all understand the value and the struggles and what our veterans are doing for us and what they sacrifice. We get that. We all get that. When you are a supervisor sitting there, you have to make the tough choices. You got to figure out a way to fund what you want to fund. I didn't get a vote when it came to the Veteran Service Officer, but I think that I would have dug really deep to find a way. With regard to the trapper, a skunk, a coyote, yeah. When you're faced with a bear, then come and talk to me about that. You know, if you're 80 years old and living out there by yourself, or come talk to me about that trapper then. And it's a trapper I believe that we share with our neighboring county. Thank you.
All right, we have our final question, and I think this question is probably put last by our committee because it's probably one of the ones that most people here want to hear about. So we're going to start with Marty, and the question is, there has been talk of leaving the community plans out of the general plan update to speed up the process. They can be added later. How important do you think it is that the general plan update include the community plans now, including the Rancho Calaveras special plan?
Thank you, whoever asked that question. The general plan, by definition, requires community input. The community plans and the Rancho special plan are those voices. That's the input. So to leave them out is unacceptable. If you develop and approve a general plan without the community input, the community will not support it. And I suspect that it will be challenged in court. We cannot afford that. We would be years in court again. So just to pass a plan because we want to get it done on my watch is not good enough. We can't pass just a legally defensible plan. It must be a good plan. It's a working document. How many times have we seen staff change, supervisors change, department heads change? This is a working document. Do we have to keep having the same discussion? discussions and arguments and conversations over and over again because we weren't there in the room to hear them in the first place. And so we're starting all over every time we turn around. We're turning sideways, change direction. It happens constantly. And I know this because I was there. And I watched it every time. So please, push for a good plan, one that will serve us well and not come back to bite us later. Thank you.
Would I accept a general plan without the community plans initially if it's presented that way? And that's what we have to do to get it going? You bet I will. Okay, do I believe in a Rancho Calaveras special plan? You bet I do. And all the other community plans that everybody has put in. It won't be the first time Calaveras County has added the community plans later. The Rancho special plan we have now is dated 1999. The general plan is dated 1996. I can subtract 3. They put the special plan in later. We can do that again if it's presented that way. Maybe the new planner's a miracle worker and he's going to present them all at the same time. That's going to kind of be up to him, and it'll start in the planning commission and come to the board of supervisors afterwards. Would I support it if they don't all come at the same time? Yes. Do I want the community plans to come in? Yes. California state law does not require community plans to be attached to that general plan to get it passed. I already read what it requires. It's very clear. There are a lot of things that go into that. I'm very concerned about protecting private property rights, and I will be vigilant to do that when it's passed. But the elements that need to be in the general plan, I've defined them. That's what we need to go forward. And you know, if Peter Maurer can bring out the community plans attached to that, more power to him. I don't believe he's going to be able to do that, and I'll be vigilant to make sure that our Rancho special plan is not forgotten. It was done that way before, and I can do it that way again.
Marty, 1 minute response.
So the community plans and the Rancho plan. The Rancho plan has been in existence for a long time. Community plans, if you try to add them later as a document, it'll never happen. It costs way too much money. It's just never going to happen. The community plans will not get included. But they all kind of have different things in them that are similar. And a good planning director can pull those things out and include our voices in there. That's what I'm talking about. And then they just can attach the rest of it as an addendum if that's what has to happen. But our voices must be heard in that plan, or it will not work for us. It will not serve us well. And 20 years from now, we're still going to be fighting the same battles. So please, we have to stop having the same conversations. We got to move forward and include the community plans, include the Rancho special plan. Thank you.
You know, I will accept a general plan that's presented if we can get it going, because during this process, I've talked to 300 plus employer people who would be interested in coming to our county if we've got a general plan passed. They're not going to invest money here until we got our act together. I learned a long time ago, never say never. When I left Long's Drugs after tying my tie every day for 30 years, I swore I would never wear a tie again. So, you know, we can get the general plans fixed with the community plans in time. It's already been done. I didn't invent that wheel.
Does anybody have scissors? We can fix that.
Hey, take it off, Steve! Take it
I
off!
only have one right now.
All right, before we go into closing statements to each candidate, I have to ask that we have to clean up before we leave today, so I'm asking ABA members to stay and help put chairs away and clean up, and anybody else who would like to please help put chairs away that you're sitting in, greatly appreciated. So we can get this room back for tomorrow. Apparently an all-day party is going on, so we want to leave it in a good shape for them. So, closing statements. I believe we started with Steve for the opening statements, so closing, we will start with Marty.
So again, I decided to run for supervisor because it was a logical next step after having shown up, paid attention in so many places for so many years, and it felt to me that there were no qualified candidates stepping up. When my opponent called and asked for my endorsement, I shared with him, you do realize that I'm running for supervisor. And he said, I didn't think you were serious. And I thought, I'll give you a pass on that. But I am deadly serious about this. Representing the general public and conducting the business of the county that affects all of us is serious business. We take it far too lightly, and we continue to elect people who decide to show up when it's time to run. Sometimes they don't show up. And that happens on a lot of different boards and committees, and it affects everything. And it ultimately affects our budget and our ability to be productive. I believe in focused, productive boards and commissions, and we have to have those, or we're not going to make any progress whatsoever. So, to say that, so I asked my opponent, so where have you been? I haven't seen you in a long time. And he said he checked out at just about everything for the last 6 or 7 years. And I would wonder, what about today is like it was 8 years ago? We went through a big crash. Everything's changed. And we're struggling like never before. So if you are my representative, I want you to be well informed on many, many, many issues, so that when people come to the Board of Supervisors and they give you their well-prepared plea, I want our representative to be able to say, but what about this? What about that? And have good information to draw from. I see us making decisions on a low level of information quite often. And who does it hurt? Us. So please, we elect people because they live on our street, they go to our church. Hey, he's my hunting buddy. That's a new one I heard. And that does not serve us well. It takes years to get to know the community. And I can spot a candidate vision a mile away. And it takes years to develop a community vision. So politics, this is not a political thing for me. It is by far and away a statement about honesty, dedication, and motivation. So please, I have a lot of faith in our communities, and we can do this. Thank you.
Mr. Attorney, 3 minutes.
That's a lot of conversation I don't remember. I was on the Planning Commission until 2010. That was 4 years ago. So I couldn't have checked out unless somebody stood in for me those days. But okay, whatever. I want to get back to my thoughts and my message. I want to thank our hosts tonight. They've gone to a lot of trouble, and I want to thank all of you for being here. You could have done a lot of things on Friday night other than coming here, but you came, and I appreciate it. Your decisions and your vote are critical. And so much is at stake. You need somebody who can deal with the issues we're facing. The issues, our county's on a financial cliff. It really is. You need someone who's dealt with troubled financial situations, and I have done that. Okay, I have dealt with troubled business locations. I recognize them, and I have brought them back to financial health. I am not, and I want to be really clear on this, I'm not volunteering for anything. What I'm asking you to do is I am asking you to hire me with your vote for the position of Calaveras County Supervisor for 4 years. And if you don't like it in 4 years, you can get rid of me. But I think that I'm going to do a good job, and I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to do the same thing that I did for 30 years. I'm going to show up. I'm going to work on the issues at hand. I'm going to stay engaged, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be the county supervisor. Why? Because I care. I care about the county. I care about my neighbors, and I care about the best friends I've ever made on life here. When I hear that there are break-ins in the neighborhood, especially when I can see one of the houses from my lot, I care about that. There's something that can be done about those things, and I'm ready to work on those things. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and take this dog on tie-off and get busy. When you enter that poll booth on November 4th, you're going to have a very important decision. I am asking you to bring what I have done as a successful business manager, being involved in the community, and a caring resident to the job of Calaveras County Supervisor. I thank you for caring. You're here because you care. And I want to thank you for wanting Calaveras to be great again, just as I do.
Okay, on behalf of the ABA, we want to thank both of the candidates for showing up tonight.